Oke guys, selamat datang kembali di channelku. Hari ini kita bakalan mainin game The Stanley Parable. Jadi game ini tuh kata orang ya, ini tuh game yang gak ada endingnya. Bukan kata orang sih, kata gamenya sendiri. Kalau kalian cek di Steam, cek deskripsinya, nanti kalian bakal lihat ini game yang gak ada endingnya. Langsung aja lah, nggak usah berlama-lama, kita langsung begin the game. Ini tuh game naratif ya, jadi mungkin ya agak sedikit inilah, sedikit membosankan ya. Karena bakal banyak dialog dan kita cuma muter-muter doang.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oke, game ini sudah mulai. Selamat datang di game Corporate Simulator ya. Yang kalian dengar tadi sesuai sama naratornya bilang bahwa si Stanley itu kerjaannya cuman ada order di sini. Ya ada perintah, terus dia ngeklik atau nekan salah satu tombol di keyboardnya, kayak gitulah. Cuman kali ini nggak ada nih, nggak ada ordernya dan semua orang tiba-tiba menghilang. Dan dia nggak tahu harus ngapain. Dan saya pun tidak tahu harus ngapain. Oke, langsung aja kita keliling-keliling. Gak ada yang bisa diinteraksi ini, agak oke. Sensitivitasnya emang licin ya ternyata. Oke, ini nggak ada tutorial kah? Oke, nggak ada yang bisa dibuka pintu. Oke, klik kiri ya untuk. Lah, ini nggak bisa dibuka lagi bro. Oke, berarti kita gak perlu balik lagi kali ya.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Udah libur kali. Oke, sebentar guys. Oke, nggak ada ini ya, nggak ada.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oke ya, emang nggak ada siapapun di sini, tapi komputernya nyala bro. Oh, kita matiin. Oke, ini nggak ada settingan buat ini ya, buat subtitle gitu.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oke, 424, 422. Oke, ada ruangan di sana. Kita nggak bisa masuk, ini juga nggak bisa dibuka.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oke, katanya kita masuk ke pintu yang sebelah kiri ya, kata naratornya. Ini ruang meeting ya.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Bagi inside your recent cover. Bentar, tadi kata naratornya apa? Kita ke... Waduh. Ya kita...
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Oke. Tiap kita masuk ke ruangan baru, ini pintu belakang langsung ketutup ya, berarti emang kita nggak perlu balik lagi berarti. Oke, gimana narator? Kita ke
Coming to a
atas.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oke, kita ke atas ya. Ke ruang si bos. Damn. Ada siapa-siapa di sini pun. Bos. Bos.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Itulah ya.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ya. Bro berpikir kita nggak bisa dengar naratornya ya. Bawah.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Oke, bentar ini kita naikin suara. Oh, udah paling gede loh. Subtitles. Oke. Oke, kenapa si bos punya jalur rahasia?
Through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Boleh kah? Main narator?
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Oke, tidak
Of
jadi.
course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Oke, katanya di ujung escape sana ada, kita bakal dead ya. Kita ke sini aja. Ini bukan game horror kan?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
We need to know, guys. We have to know. Apa rahasia yang disembunyikan ya sama bos kita. Oke. Mari kita cari tahu. Di TV. Kita nyalain kah?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
Damn.
And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Lama ini kita dipantau, guys. Di stalking. Ternyata big secretnya adalah bos kita adalah stalker ya. Aku lupa lagi kita nomor berapa sih. Atas kah?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Damn. Mari kita ke atas, guys.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It
Never.
was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Damn, bro. Sampai emosi juga kita diatur loh. Makan, jalan, damn. Yang kerja di kantoran, pekerja korporat emang begini kah? Diatur sedemikian rupa. Apa nih? Ini ada tombol nomor 5. Oh, nggak ada yang terjadi. Oke lah. Mind controls idle awaiting input. Tujuan kita apakah?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Oke, kita matiin ya. Supaya semua orang bisa mengambil keputusan sendiri tanpa diatur. Gas off on. My control idle awaiting input. System power. Berarti kita matiin ya. Ini power apa nih? Jangan-jangan cuma power listrik nih.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Semua sudah selesai.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine.
Oke.
Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him.
Yang
For
penting
it
kita
was not
bebas ya.
knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness.
Ya,
Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
ya kita nggak peduli ya kemana coworker kita, siapa atau apa tujuan dari mesin-mesin ini. Yang penting kita bebas.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the
Ooh,
feeling of liberation.
this is
The
freedom.
immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
For the first time ya. Selama ini diatur-atur. Beat the game, complete the Stanley Parable. Udah kah? Oh, udah. Oke, ini kita ngulang lagi.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oke, kita ulang lagi ya, kita mulai lagi. Kita sekarang coba ke escape ya. Oh iya ya, ke escape. Oke, masih nggak ada yang bisa dibuka.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Kita ke kiri dulu atau kita ke kanan? Apakah ke kiri terus nanti pilih ruangan escape? Atau kita ambil jalur kanan guys? Kiri dulu aja lah. Dan untuk dapetin endingnya escape ya. Ini pun ada 2 nih. Oh, satu-satu lah.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Exactly
And
guys.
for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing? and
Exactly
thinking?
guys.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all
Apa nih?
very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am
Ini bukan
real.
mimpi.
Please, just someone tell me I am
Please.
real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice?
Who am I?
And everything went black.
Oke. Jadi semua ini mimpi atau bukan?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Enggak. Oke, itu adalah ending kedua. Wah, ini game naratifnya ini banget ya. Benar-benar game naratif tuh benar-benar game naratif, guys. Jadi aku jarang ada kesempatan ngomong gitu. Cuman intinya tadi ternyata kita tuh apa ya? Kita tadi ada pilihan kan ke ruangan bos, yaitu naik ke atas tangga atau keluar pulang gitu. Karena dia nggak punya keberanian, akhirnya dia pilih tangga ke bawah, yang dimana justru malah bolak-balik nih ruangannya. Dia terjebak di di loop gitu. Akhirnya dia ngerasa wah ini mimpi sih. Akhirnya dia teriak, dan yang kita lihat gitu ternyata kemungkinan besar dia emang udah gila gitu. Tahu-tahu dia udah collapse di jalanan gitu. Mungkin ya yang aku tangkap gitu. Intinya ini naratifnya tapi lucu sih sebenarnya kalau dipikir-pikir. Terus naratornya pun dia mempertanyakan gitu. Bukan mempertanyakan, dia bikin si Stanley mikirin gitu. ini kok ada orang ngomong gitu. Ini kok setiap masuk eh masuk atau keluar pintu belakang selalu nutup kayak gitu. Jadi itu untuk ending kedua ya. Kita ending ketika kita naik ke atas, terus nanti pilih escape. Oke. Ending kedua agak-agak nyeremin sih,
All of his
serius.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oke, berarti sekarang kita coba untuk
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
kita
doors, he entered the door on his left.
kita ke ruangan escape berarti ya.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Ada yang bisa kita lakuin kah di sini? Soalnya satu-satunya ruangan yang bisa kita masukin ini, guys.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Kita
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Oke. Ya sih kayaknya nggak ada.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why?
Oke, sorry.
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Oke, kita lanjut kali ya. Bentar, kalau kita stay sebentar lagi ini gimana nih?
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
Oke, santai,
I
Mang.
never would have thought to mention it.
Santai, Mang, santai. Ini naratornya marah loh.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
The broom ending.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Oh, santai, Mang. Nggak perlu nyerang personal, Bang. Oh, bisa jongkok
Well, I've
kita.
come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative
kenapa
tropes in
juga
video
ada
gaming.
ruangan
So
yang
that
bisa
the irony
diinteraksi, bro.
and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Kita diam lagi sebentar lagi deh. Oke, kayaknya emang kita harus keluar deh.
Second player, it's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Gimana kalau kita masuk lagi?
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Oke, kayaknya emang nggak ada deh ending ending apa namanya, ending di broom closetnya kita lanjut aja kali ya. Di ruangan yang
Descending deeper into the building,
kontrol
Stanley
sistem
realized he
tuh
felt a bit peculiar.
banyak
It
angka-angka yang
was a
bisa kita
stirring of
tekan, itu
emotion in
kayaknya
his chest, as though
kode
he
mungkin
felt
ya.
more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Oke.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Kita ke escape kali
Facility.
ya.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Oke, kita coba. Ini bukan game horror kan? Harusnya nggak ada jump scare nih.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Ini kah? Udah. Oh shit. Wah.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this really is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Oh my god.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What? Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now?
Oh, ini ruangan kita
Do
kah?
you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Wah. Maksudnya ini apa nih? Office layout. Ini ruangan kita. Koridor. Ini mind control. Oh, ini the two doors. Oh, ini. Ini kita udah nggak ada kah? Stanley's computer. Nature painting. The office. Ini button sound. Ini sih sebenarnya bukan game horror, tapi vibe-nya itu unsettling, bro. Boss office.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Okay.
Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can
What?
stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Oh emang harus kita mulai gamenya lagi guys. Sampai naratornya ganti loh. Telepon mana?
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar.
Oke lah, bodo amat lah. Saya tidak akan pulang ke rumah. Oke, berarti ending ke 4 sekarang kita nyari.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ending ini yang countdown, yang hitung mundur.
He was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Oh, sorry.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Wow. Bentar. Aman kah? Musik. Ini nggak copyright nih.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Oke. Beneran, Pak. Oke. Ini ending terakhir di ruangan ini berarti harusnya ya.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he
Nyalain.
knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Sorry narator, saya potong.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After
I
they kept
did.
you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, well, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
What?
How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley?
What?
It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going.
Tombol merah.
What all this means, I barely know
Apa nih?
where to start.
Incorrect. Re-enter
What's
passcode.
that? You'd like
Passcode.
to know where your co-workers are.
Oh,
A moment of
ini kali ya.
solace before you're obliterated. All right,
5.
I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely
We
in
have to
this
add them
instance of the
remaining.
story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a
Sekarang
crisp.
kah? Coba
I
kita
have
coba.
to say this, though. This
5.
version of events has been rather amusing.
Masuk kah?
Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the
Terima.
next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra
Dua.
time on the clock. Why not?
Oke, thank you.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're
Salah
supposed
dong.
to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was
Itu kita
capable of turning it
tambahin
off?
gak mungkin.
I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything,
142,
something here will
142.
save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have
Sorry,
any
aku
idea
nggak
what your purpose in this place is?
bisa dengerin naratornya, bro. Chill.
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
142.
But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you
Berapa tadi?
made humble.
142.
This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Goodbye,
Take a look at
employee.
the clock, Stanley. That's 30
127.
seconds you have left to struggle.
Oh.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No
Oh
enemy,
my God.
just you being blown to pieces.
Oh my
Will you
God.
cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until
Oh
the
my
moment
God.
I say happily ever after.
Ternyata tombol on itu kalau bukan sama orang yang tepat ya, jadi ngaktifin nuklir dong. Tidak manuk akal. Oke, itu kayaknya udah semua ending di pintu kiri. Untuk yang countdown itu aku kayaknya emang nggak ada passcode yang bener. Jadi next kita bakal ke
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well
ruangan
by
yang
himself
kanan.
and
Tapi segitu aja untuk game Stanley Parable ending di pintu kiri ya. Bagi kalian suka jangan lupa silahkan di like. Kalau mau subscribe silahkan juga. Terima kasih kalau ada. Dan ya sampai jumpa lagi di next video.